Hello everybody, Andrew here with Lucid Dream Infinity. I wanted to do a video on the author of the Tibetan Book of the Dead, this guy named Padmasambhava. And Padmasambhava is a very important and significant figure in Tibetan Buddhism. He's more commonly known as Guru Rinpoche. And he's the guy who wrote a very famous Tibetan Buddhist text called the Tibetan Book of the Dead, right? That's sort of a very famous sort of Buddhist text in Tibetan Buddhism. Now, Padmasambhava is also very significant because he's the first known author of teachings on lucid dreaming. And if you watch my video about the history of lucid dreaming and the origins of lucid dreaming, I talk about how the first historical textual documents that we have about lucid dreaming come from this sort of highly revered guru, Padmasambhava, from ancient Tibet around the 4th to 7th centuries. So to get into this more deeply, so Padmasambhava wrote the Tibetan Book of the Dead, which is essentially a guidebook for how to utilize the experience of death in order to realize ultimate spiritual illumination. That's what the Tibetan Book of the Dead is. It's a guidebook, it's a text on how to use death and the experience of dying for realizing enlightenment. And so that's sort of the main purpose or the main objective of the Tibetan Book of the Dead, to sort of help guide the deceased person towards ultimate awakening, ultimate spiritual knowledge and understanding. So that's what the Tibetan Book of the Dead is. So it's very interesting to me that this teacher, this profound guru, Padmasambhava, sort of treated death and lucid dreaming as both being very potent for achieving these profound spiritual realizations, right? So, he talks a lot about, using the experience of death to realize nirvana, and he also treats lucid dreaming and the lucid dream state as a tremendous opportunity for these profound sorts of spiritual insights and realizations to occur. And so this is kind of very curious and very interesting to me. The question being, why is that? Why did Padmasambhava treat the lucid dream state and the experience of death as both being so potent for having these sorts of spiritual realizations? So I think that part of the answer to this question is because sort of in dreams and in death, consciousness is sort of unanchored from the physical body, right? Whatever our beliefs may be about death, one thing is certain, and that is that consciousness or cognitive awareness is sort of no longer tied to the physical body. And so this is sort of kind of similar in the dream state, right? Because the dream state is a non-physical realm. It's a mental realm. Dreams are created by our minds. They are sort of immaterial, right? So both in death and in lucid dreams, human consciousness or human awareness sort of, perhaps finds itself in a non-material state in both instances, in a place that's not sort of bound by the laws of physics and the sort of physical sensory experiences, right? In death and in dreams, those sorts of circumstances are not present, and our awareness, our consciousness is sort of in this place where we're not bound by those things. And so perhaps that is one of the reasons why Padmasambhava treated lucid dreaming and dying as being these sort of powerful opportunities to have, you know, profound spiritual realizations to occur. And these are sort of moments in time in which, you know, there's a strong possibility or a strong potency, strong likelihood in which we can achieve these very powerful spiritual realizations through implementing certain spiritual practices. And he talks about this at length in the book I mentioned before, Natural Liberation. He discusses how we can use what he calls apprehending the dream state. I sort of interpret that to mean lucid dreaming, right? Becoming lucid in a dream is apprehending the dream state. That's my interpretation of it. And so he gives very specific practices to engage in within the lucid dream state in order to bring about these sorts of profound spiritual actualizations. And similarly, in the Tibetan Book of the Dead, he discusses how to go about utilizing the experience of death and the experience of dying to achieve ultimate spiritual realization and ultimate knowledge and wisdom and compassion of our minds, of ourselves, of the universe. So that's kind of a curious thing, right? That he treats death and dying and the lucid dream state as being, you know, sort of profound opportunities for spiritual realization. So one thing that I wanted to tie into this is that you know, a lot of us sort of tend to think of the lucid dream state as a place of ultimate freedom, right? Where we can do sort of anything, we can have any sort of experience that we want to, and wake up and there are absolutely no consequences whatsoever in the waking world, right? It was just a dream. We wake up from it, and you know, we're free to continue our lives, and nobody knows except for ourselves what we did in our lucid dreams. And you know, sort of social conventions and all of those things go out the window in dreams, and we can do whatever we want to without consequences, right? Well, maybe not. The point that I wanted to bring up here is that the sort of habits that we form in our lucid dreams have an impact in terms of how we shape our own consciousness. And what I mean by this is that in lucid dreams, we develop mental habits, we develop mental patterns, right? So for example, let's say that I'm a lucid dreamer, I have a lucid dream, and somebody, you know, it's a nightmare, it's a scary dream, somebody's coming to attack me. And you know, my habit that I've developed as a lucid dreamer is to just, you know, destroy that which is attacking me, and to just reduce it to ashes and very violently destroy it, right? So we might wake up and it was just a dream, and you know, now we're awake and we're here. But the problem with doing that is that we are reinforcing a mental habit. We're reinforcing a mental pattern of reacting to fear and reacting to nightmares using violence, albeit in a lucid dream, but you're still creating this mental habit. You're still creating this mental pattern, and in that way shaping your consciousness to a specific way of reacting to fear and when you feel scared, right? So that's just, you know, one example. There are numerous other examples, right? How do you react in a lucid dream when you see another person that is sexually desirable? How do you react to that, right? When we the way that we shape our lucid dreams and the way that we engage with them and the way that we react to the things that the dream world and the lucid dream world present to us, those are all creating mental habits. Those are where we are creating mental patterns through how we react and how we sort of deal with the things in the dream state. and those mental patterns carry over into waking life, right? We are shaping our consciousness through these experiences. So that's something to be aware and to be mindful of. So, coming back to the Tibetan Book of the Dead and using death as an opportunity for realizing enlightenment. One of the things that Padmasambhava discusses in the Tibetan Book of the Dead is how our mental habits and our mental patterns create what's called a mental body, or these habitual tendencies sort of are become these sort of perhaps karmic forces that propel us after we die into this sort of after-death state. And so these mental habits and these mental patterns that we develop while we are alive, we sort of carry with us into the after-death state. And that can have a very big impact on our experience of death and what the after-death state is like, right? So, for example, if you're, the type of person who's developed a mental habit of, destroying anything that, scares you or that brings fear in your lucid dreams, right? When you find yourself in the after-death state, in what's called the bardo, if you have that mental habit, if you've cultivated that mental pattern, right, something scary happens to you in the after-death state, like, oh, there's this, ghost, or, whatever it is that's coming after you, and you sort of engage in a destructive action or destructive force, that's creating a negative sort of emotion, right? Like perhaps anger. Who you think you are, like, but the problem with that is that, if you believe in reincarnation and if you believe in rebirth and those sorts of things, right, anger is a very, very dangerous thing in the after-death state, right? If you feel that kind of negative emotion in the bardo, that's going to have a very, very powerful negative consequence on your rebirth. So you may get, through feeling anger or hatred or jealousy or envy, all of these things in the after-death state are going to have a big impact on where, you get reborn and where you take rebirth, right? So that's something that, to consider in lucid dreams and in waking life, right? These mental habits and mental patterns that we create in the context of the Tibetan Book of the Dead, right? We carry those mental habits and those mental patterns with us when we die, and those mental habits and those mental patterns shape what our experience of the after-death state is like. So in that sense, it's really worth being aware and mindful of the sorts of habits and patterns that we develop in our lucid dreams, especially, considering that Padmasambhava, Guru Rinpoche, right, this prolific, highly revered guru of ancient Tibet, treated lucid dreams and death as opportunities for realizing enlightenment, right? So there's this very important connection or similarity there in terms of the significance of lucid dreams and death. So really be aware of the mental habits and the mental patterns that we create, not just in lucid dreams but also in waking life as well, and sort of finding healthy ways of reducing anger and reducing the presence of these sort of venomous negative emotions, so that we cultivate healthy mental patterns and healthy mental habits, so that when our time to die does come, as it does for all human beings, we're able to meet death with the perspective of a life well lived, and in that sense, ready to take the next step forward in terms of consciousness and bringing it up to the next level, and perhaps even realizing ultimate spiritual illumination, spiritual enlightenment. Okay, so those are just some things to keep in mind. I hope this video was helpful, and see you guys in the next one.